On August 19, 1942, the sun rose over the English Channel. It revealed a fleet of ships slicing through the gray water. They carried thousands of young Canadian soldiers. Their destination was a French resort town named Dieppe. Their mission was Operation Jubilee, a raid intended to test Hitler's Atlantic Wall. It was meant to be a swift, sharp blow. It was meant to gather vital intelligence for a future invasion. Instead, that summer morning became a charnel house. The pebbled beaches ran red with blood. The raid was a catastrophe of the first order. It left an indelible scar on the Canadian nation and a host of bitter questions for its leaders. Old photographs possess a haunting power. The faces before they embarked, nervous bravado, then the aftermath that forces us to confront the brutal reality. To untangle the Dieppe story, we must first understand two key men. The first is Lieutenant General Andrew McNaughton. He was no ordinary soldier. McNaughton was a man of science, an engineer by training, a brilliant artillery officer in the Great War. Known as Andy to his friends, respected for his intellect and fiercely protective of his Canadian troops, he insisted the Canadian Army fight as a single powerful entity. A proud nationalist and meticulous planner who abhorred waste, especially the waste of human life. Our guide is John Rickard, historian and serving Canadian officer whose dual perspective gives his work unique authority. Rickard offers a forensic examination of context, peeling back myth, to reveal a commander wrestling with an agonizing dilemma. His central thesis: McNaughton was deeply skeptical of a frontal assault on a heavily defended port. His scientific mind knew the odds were poor. He had seen machine guns break exposed infantry before, and doubted the naval and air support promised. Yet he faced pressure, from home, from government, and from soldiers eager to fight. Caught between protecting his men and fighting the war, it was a terrible bind. The plan for the Dieppe Raid, Operation Jubilee, was flawed from its conception. A house built on sand, destined to collapse. A close look reveals many problems. Anyone could cause serious trouble. Combined, a perfect storm of failure. Planners pressed on with dangerous optimism, ignoring warning signs, while men boarded craft for Dieppe. Intelligence was appallingly poor. Outdated maps, tourist photos, and missed cliff gun emplacements overlooking the beach. The garrison was misjudged as second-rate. In reality, veterans from the Eastern Front waited. Canadians expecting moderate resistance ran into a buzzsaw of machine guns and mortars sweeping the beaches. Fire support was critically weak. Brief naval bombardment from a handful of destroyers, insufficient to neutralize defenses. The RAF fought hard, but could not suppress entrenched positions. Soldiers were left to fight alone. Churchill tanks, unproven on Dieppe's pebble shingle, spun uselessly, bogged at the water's edge, or stalled at the sea wall. Unanticipated barriers turned them into static steel coffins, easy targets for anti-tank guns. A brutal combination, and a foregone result. Military decisions are rarely made in a vacuum. They are shaped by political currents. To see why Dieppe proceeded, look beyond combined operations, to London, Washington, and Moscow. McNaughton was not just a commander. He was caught in a political iron vise. Leaders demanded action. Soldiers on the beaches would pay the price. In 1942, the Red Army bled on the Eastern Front. Stalin demanded a second front and accused the West of letting the Soviets do all the bleeding. A full-scale invasion was premature. A major raid seemed a way to appease Stalin and signal commitment. Lord Louis Mountbatten, charismatic, ambitious, championed aggressive raids to bloody Hitler's nose, brushing aside caution. Winston Churchill, a man of action, was receptive. He needed visible offensive spirit to buoy morale. Within the Canadian Army, years of training frayed morale. A perception grew they were being held back as garrison troops. Rickard argues McNaughton came to see Dieppe as a necessary evil to satisfy politics and extract military lessons, the crucible of his decision. When the landing craft hit the beaches, the flawed plan unraveled with terrifying speed, a catalogue of failure. On the main beaches, Pouce and Pourville, the Royal Regiment of Canada and the South Saskatchewan Regiment were slaughtered. A slight delay at Pouce meant a daylight landing without darkness, met by pre-sighted machine guns. Within minutes, the unit was destroyed. In front of the town, the Essex Scottish and the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry struggled across open shingle under fire from cliffs and fortified buildings. Communication broke down, radios failed, commanders offshore were blind and deaf to the horror ashore. Without accurate information, Force Commander Major General John Hamilton Roberts sent in his floating reserve, Les Fusiliers Mont-Royal, into a lost battle. Number 4. Commando, led by Lord Lovat, executed a textbook strike on a coastal battery, but it was a sideshow with no impact on the main fight. Primary objectives: capture the port, destroy key facilities, seize intelligence, were not even close. A planned early afternoon withdrawal devolved into a desperate evacuation under fire. Of nearly 5,000 Canadians, about 3,350 were killed, wounded, or captured, almost 70%. The RAF lost over 100 aircraft, the Royal Navy a destroyer, and dozens of landing craft. For the Allies, an unmitigated defeat. For the Germans, fewer than 600 casualties. In the aftermath, there was shock and grief, but terrible defeats can teach hard lessons. Operation Jubilee became a brutal textbook. The Allies learned what not to do, and learned it well. First, overwhelming fire support. Small destroyers at Dieppe failed. For D-Day, a massive fleet pulverized defenses for hours. Bombardment cratered beaches, destroyed obstacles, and stunned defenders, answering Dieppe's deficiency. Second, specialized armor. Churchill failures at Dieppe inspired funnies, flails, bridge layers, and amphibious Shermans to give infantry immediate support. Finally, avoid frontal attacks on defended ports. Land on open beaches, seize ports from inland, and build mulberry harbors offshore. Those floating harbors let the Allies pour men and materiel ashore without taking places like Cherbourg or Le Havre on day one. Dieppe's failures forged innovations. The road to June 1944 was paved with hard-won clarity. The blood on Dieppe's stones was not entirely in vain. Was General McNaughton right about Dieppe? History resists simple answers. He was not the sole villain. Rickard shows he was constrained by circumstance, cautious, scientific, full of misgivings, pressured by political masters, by allies, and by the impatience of his own army. He did not author the plan, nor hold absolute veto. He saw a calculated risk, hoping knowledge gained might justify the cost. He was not alone. Many seasoned officers believed it could work. They were wrong. Ultimately, blame must be shared. A commander's highest duty is the lives of his soldiers. McNaughton allowed judgment to be overruled by immense pressure, and his men paid. He was dedicated and intelligent, placed in an impossible position. Dieppe was born of strategic impatience, political necessity, and tactical arrogance. Its legacy is twofold: a monument to Canadian courage, and a brutal, essential lesson paid in blood that helped pave the road to victory. That is the final grim truth of Dieppe.